All right. Day 22. Path 32. The final path. This is the path of Tav, the shadow of Tav, rather, Thantifaxath. I hope you're all having a good morning or afternoon or evening, whatever time it is there. Hope you're having a good time so far. Let's begin with the image. There it is. It's a bittersweet moment. Alrighty. Let's get started. The 32nd tunnel is under the aegis of Thantifaxath, whose number is 1040, and whose name should be reverberated in the key of B sharp, as if in the hollows of Chthonian deeps. His sigil is to be painted on a black rectangle rayed with blue. His sigil is to be painted on a black rectangle rayed with blue. 1040 is the number of the Temenos, or Temenos, Temenos, the precinct of a temple, and of Choros, Choros, or Choros, which, according to the canon, page 195, Canon, was a dance by which the earliest worshippers invoked the deity, moving with measured steps around the altar. Excuse me. In this kala is resumed the entire range of macro and microcosmic kalas. 16 kalas are allotted to the microcosm and 16 to the macrocosm. 16 is a lot. It's going from digits to letters. That's confusing. The 32nd kala is, in a sense, holy cow. Pardon me, folks. 16 kalas are allotted to the macrocosm and 16 to the microcosm. The 32nd kala is, in a sense, the second 16th, and as such pertains to Earth, typified by the altar. The sigil of Thantifaxath thus forms the earth or base of the entire series of kalas, and the anode and cathode are linked or earthed to the Tau, or Tav, that has its origin in the subconsciousness. So there's a note after Tau that says the phallic current. I'm going to make a note here. Pardon me. I'm curious about anode, cathode, and diode in relation to the tria prima, if there is any connection there, but I don't want to meditate on it right now. Okay. The sigil of Thantifaxath thus forms the earth or base of the entire series of kalas, and the anode and cathode are linked or earthed to the Tau that has its origin in the subconsciousness. Thus, the sigil includes the geomantic figure of Acquisitio, which is attributed to the number 9, and which, in this instance, is informed by the fiery Sagittarius. Hence, the electrical nature of Thantifaxath and its earthing in the hidden Chthonian cells. These are typified by the forces of restriction and incarceration, symbolized by Saturn. The magical siddhis of this kala comprise works of malediction and death, and the sickle of Saturn the Great One of the Night of Time. I believe that is the occult title of death, but I could be wrong about that. The Great One of the Night of Time. It is the supreme emblem of this tunnel, which is the resort of ghouls and larvae of the pit, lit by an lurid phosphorescent glare of corpse candles. I don't have the deck on me. I apologize. I was gonna actually look at it moving forward. It makes sense that it would be the world or the universe, but moving on. The ash and cypress, the nightshade, the elm, and the yew are the trees of darkness, in whose shadows the tunnel disappears into the deepest cells of the earth. Yet, this tunnel has affinities with the ocean of space through its association with Set, the child of the goddess of the seven stars, whose planetary vehicle is Saturn. Sebech, the crocodile, is the zoomorphic emblem of this tunnel, and Mako, a name of Set, as the son of Typhon and the powers of darkness, is the secret deity of this nethermost cell. The god Terminus also belongs here, for this outpost of the cosmic system is truly the end of that cosmic vibration, which from this point return to their source in the stars. And the African complex of powers associated with the 32nd Kala, I like that. Instead of calling it a pantheon, it's a complex. Or I guess you could also call it a plexus. And the African complex of powers associated with the 32nd Kala are the Ogboni and the Agungun. These paths intersect and cross over one another. The associated powers with the 32nd Kala are the Ogboni and the Agungun, which typify the most dreaded occult organizations in the whole of Africa. It is here also, in the depth of earth, as in the most outflung gulf of blackest space, that the Odun and the African Sabbath is celebrated with the primal rites of the elder gods who serve the Great One of the Night of Time. The Zangbeto, Zangbeto, or people of the night who come from the other side of the sea, also haunt this power zone of finality and death. I'm going to digress here because I think this is perhaps a perspective shift for some people. When I was a kid, I was so dumb that I saw the sky as a second ocean. I saw where the sky began. I was fortunate enough to be able to go to the beach, the ocean, at a very young age. And the second I saw the sun meet the sky, it flooded into it. I mean, it was as if the waters opened up, so to speak. And it's kind of interesting to think about things this way sometimes. Another thing, when I was a child, I mean, I'm talking like 4, I thought that the sound of cicadas was the sound of the sun's rays beating down on the earth and on me, just radiating, because that's how it seemed. And the only time I would hear cicadas in the region where I lived was in like July, August, super hot, very dry, not a lot of clouds, just the sun just beaming down on you. But when I meditate on that noise, I just sort of go to a certain place. Anyway, thanks for humoring my stories. Okie doke. I'm going to reread that. The Zangbeto, or people of the night, who come from the other side of the sea, sea note, i.e. from the depths of space beyond Saturn. Saturn is the great sea. There's that too. Binah in Saturn. Okie doke. The people who come from the other side of the sea also haunt this power zone of finality and death. The disease typical of this kala is arteriosclerosis, the hardening of the arteries. And the arteries, that is the adjunct of senility, and the onset of the final rigor, like rigor mortis. The works of this tunnel include incarceration or tying up as a corpse in the swathings of eternity. The origin of a deadly form of sorcery, which consists in imprisoning souls in a space by a curious method that has been described by Michael Bertiow. Then it describes the process. Too many of you are way too triggered and unbalanced to hear this. If you actually want to figure it out, go ahead. You can figure it out. The 30-second path transmits the astral energies of Yesod to the sphere of Malkuth, thereby affecting the final earthing of all the kalas and influences that have streamed through the tunnels from Pluto, Keter, or Kether, to Earth, Malkut, or Malkuth. But at this utmost and final earthing of the cosmic current, a sudden reversal occurs. And this is the formula of magic itself, that the current having earthed itself in Malkuth now turns back upon itself and streaks up the tree to dissolve in its source. And the transcosmic centers of energy represented by Keter. See note of Malkuth. Malkuth is the bride of the creative power of Keter. Return the princess to her king. Alrighty. I'm going to reread that again too. The current, having earthed itself in Malkuth, now turns back upon itself and streaks up the tree to dissolve in its source and the transcosmic centers of energy represented by Keter. Thus, Malkuth is in Keter and Keter is in a Malkuth, though after a different manner. That means a lot of things. The bride is celebrated in the final verse of Liber 231 with the words, do I not have that page? Oh, here it is. I thought it was a note. The bride is celebrated in the final verse of Liber 231 with the words, and in the heart of the Sphinx danced the Lord Adonai, in his garlands of roses and pearls, making glad the concourse of things. Yes, making glad the concourse of things. Does it? So I'm glad that it was there, because now it goes into the glossary. Alrighty. Maybe I'll flip through some images for those of you who stuck around. Here's a little treat for you. These are going to be hard fought to see, a lot of these, but here, I'll scoot up a little bit. Yeah, I thought so. So there's that. Then there is this one. This one is going to be kind of hard to see. It is essentially light becoming dark, dark becoming light. Here's this one. Here are some sort of steles of a kind. And there's just a couple more. Yeah, I really did print out the entirety of the Nightside of Eden, and, well, my partner and I did. And then I individually placed them in sleeves. That's enough that you can see, I think. And I believe there is 5 more. But they're kind of hard to see, so I will show 3. You can kind of grasp that one. And finally, all right, moving on. To the Shadow Tarot. Man, that tea is good. Thantifaxath. The shadow of the universe, or the shadow of the world. Yeah, I guess it makes sense that the Great One of the Night of Time would be Saturn or the world. Now I'm curious. Anyway, from the Great One of the Night of Time came the trees of darkness, language, ordering, time. The stellar current Earths, flowering into 1,000-petaled Sahasrara, or Sahasrara, or Sahasrara. Honestly, I thought I was going to say flowering into 1,000-petaled samsara, which it kind of does both, eh? Rising swamp gas, distorting heat mirages, signify Thantifaxath, which exists in the wavering interface between the worlds of intertellurian space and stellar consciousness. Here, all has been arranged for the performance of the ancient elder rites. Trees of darkness, cypress swamp, bayous filled with ghouls and larvae of the pit, celebrate with choriform, Choreiform, dancing dread Odun, the African Sabbath, St. John's Eve. While corpse candles' phosphorescent glare illumined the gate-mouthed Sipapu, Sipapu, through which Zangbeto, people of the night, Lovecraftian transhuman horrors, the old ones, invade our dimension from the other side. From the triple goddess, new, full, dying moon, the great one of the night of time, whose Saturn sickle speaks of death, came the trees of darkness, tree alphabet, language, ordering, thus begetting time, history, and genealogy, thus crystallizing ego, and ending the blissful period of timeless wavering myth. Robert Anton Wilson talks about the how language is a time-binding construct, and I don't know if he was alluding to the fact that it generated a time-binding circuit in the brain, or if I digress. The point is how time-binding and time-bending language can be. The moon is thus the progenitor of time, the 37-year cycle of her nodes, generating the great polar cycle of 25,900 years. Earth years, that is. Creating the precession of the equinoxes as the North Pole points to each of 7 stars. Here reflected in the pool of space around which the crocodile Thantifaxath expectantly curls, ready to devour ego into Ouroboros bliss. Thus, the cosmic serpent, spiraling tail and mouth, never returning to the same point in celestial space, traces the 7-fold star of Isis Babylon, an Athetoid, Athetoid. Now I lost it. Pardon me. Never returning to the same point in celestial space, traces the 7-fold star of Isis Babylon, an Athetoid, Athetoid, an Athetoid progression around the pole of the ecliptic. This great year corresponds to 5 Mayan great cycles and marks Nibiru's inevitable returning. Thus, the stellar current, Earth's and Chthonian dream cells through Thantifaxath, the ego boundary, arachnoid membrane, the linking point of inner-outer, of microcosm-macrocosm. Bifrost, I think that's how it's pronounced, Bifrost, rainbow bridge between terrestrial and stellar currents. Crystallized in matter, the current turns upon itself, shoots up Shushumna and the spiral column, the Idala and the Pingala's child, you might call it, or parent. I digress. Crystallized in matter, the current turns upon itself, shoots up Shushumna and the spinal column, flowering into 1,000-petaled Sahasrara, or Sahasra. In the Tellurian halo of northern lights, transmitting Earth rays to the stars, and bringing the new age upon Earth. Raise Cthulhu to the stars. Is that what Iya Cthulhu fucking means? Interesting. The sigil appears upon a diamond used to imprison souls in space, creating living zombies. Here is crystallization that is living death, dying from the inside out, body armoring, ego incrustation, crystallization of a too early stage, impeding further growth. For whom are zombies? But those who identify ego with self have forsaken childhood dreams, who have forever lost the key to Never Never Land, that charmed inner paradise. Yeah, that reference to Peter Pan a few videos ago, that one hit me. That one hit me. Peter is his father. Thantifaxath meditation. Thantifaxath bestows power to cross dimensions. Not gonna go there. Focus. Thantifaxath bestows power to cross dimensions, to bridge boundaries, to link inner and outer, to communicate with denizens of parallel worlds, fairies, yetis, elves. Thantifaxath is power to understand and to use the raw energy of time inherent in its cycles. Thantifaxath is the Time Lord's power to transcend time's limitations, to relate to eternal now without lusting for result. Thantifaxath is self-regeneration, regeneration of the energy envelope of Earth, and regreening of the planet through time-binding stellar winds into the bionic life web. Need to work with the energy of Thantifaxath may be signaled by restriction, feeling tied down, time-bound, old, depressed, blind, dead. Thantifaxath is fear of voodoo or voodoo, being mounted by the Loa. I shouldn't laugh, but it's just an interesting way to say it. This is probably akin to saying being possessed. Fear of magical attacks, separation, anxiety. Thantifaxath is fear of death, leeching present moments of life and power by dwelling in a non-existent past and projecting toward an illusionary future. Thantifaxath, in the microcosm, there is psychological decompensation, loss of ego, while macrocosmically in Thantifaxath we find deterioration of polar ozone that projects fragile terra from blasting stellar rays. Thought someone was knocking. Okay. Well, that's it. I suppose I will show this. This is the Minor Arcana, Waves of Invaders from the Stars. The Minor Arcana of the Shadow Tarot evoke of waves of invaders from the stars that have inserted themselves into the human life wave throughout the millennia via DNA, genetic mutation, psychic interpenetration, and spiritual perfusion. Through meditation, one may come to recognize and reclaim these long forgotten and often mythologized powers. Here you go. Take a screenshot of that if you'd like. Okay. Then this book goes on to, it's less than half, it's almost only a third. So there's still another half to this book. And there are techniques, there are all kinds of stuff. So if you're interested, then go ahead and pick it up. All right. Last but not least, the Pathworking of Thantifaxath. Buckle in. Begin the working with the preliminary procedure, raising energy through the chakras and focusing on the sigil while chanting or vibrating the name of the guardian until you feel a connection to the energy of the tunnel. As you gaze into the image, visualize clouds of black smoke flowing into the ritual space and enveloping around you. They carry a stench of sulfur and fragrance of flowers that bloom at nighttime. When you get to this point, extinguish the candles, close your eyes, and with the image building up in your inner mind, send a message to the guardian of the tunnel to guide you through the experience. Visualize that for a moment, everything fades away and the whole world disappears. Then the darkness around you crystallizes into a scenery. You are in a desolate, mountainous area, standing in front of a cavernous opening in a rocky surface. It is shaped like a vulva, black and hollow. Small, sharp rocks growing from the walls inside make it look like the jaws of a beast. Around the entrance to the cave, you can see withered trees and poisonous plants, nightshade and asphodel flowers. Thick black smoke, flowering from the opening, cloaks the landscape with dark mist, blurring the shapes of everything around, making the whole scenery unearthly and unreal. It carries the metallic scent of blood, intense and intoxicating. You can also see hundreds of small black snakes crawling out of pits and cracks in the earth, all heading toward the cavernous opening and disappearing inside. Adjust your senses to the energies of the tunnel. Breathe the air, filled with intoxicating vapors. Feel its taste in your mouth. Let the black mist wrap around you and caress your skin. Hear the hissing of the snakes, beckoning you to enter the vulva of the earth. When you feel ready to continue the journey, follow the snakes and enter the blackness of the tunnel. You will see that it expands into a cavernous labyrinth of caves and passages. Walls are adorned with skulls of humans and animals, and more skulls and bones are scattered on the ground. Also, everything around you seems alive, as if you were inside a living being, radiating warmth and pulsating with life. The walls of the tunnel vibrate, and the heart beating rhythm, and you can hear the whispers and hissing voices inviting you to go deeper into a fleshy womb of the lunar goddess. You feel excited, and all your senses are unusually sharp, shivering with anxiety and anticipation. Travel into the depths of the tunnel, exploring it further and communicating with its denizens. Open yourself to whatever may come. Let the experience be natural and spontaneous, and enjoy the journey. When you travel back to your physical body, close the working and return to your normal consciousness, or if you choose, an even more grounded one. All right. Is there anything else that I want to cover? I guess for those of you that don't have a reference, here is a picture of the tree. You can screenshot that if you'd like. I'll try to make it as square and neat as possible. Okay. I think that's it. So, yeah. Have a good rest of the day, good rest of the week, good rest of the month, good rest of the year. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. Thanks for stopping by. Take care.